Hello and welcome to the Book Tasters. From young adults to tween and everything in between, the Book Tasters serve up the tastiest reviews of today's and yesterday's greatest stories. I'm your host, Timothy J. Burdick, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Sonnet. How you doing, Sonnet? Good. So, Sonnet, you have a very unique name. In fact, it's probably the most poetic name I've ever had for a student. How did you get your name, Sonnet?
Well, I guess my mom and dad just really liked it.
Yeah, they must be a big fan of poetry because, as you know, a sonnet is a form of poetry, and it's beautiful. All right, so let's figure out. I know you came here today ready with some unbelievable facts. Why don't you start with the first one?
The longest wedding veil was longer than 63 football fields.
A wedding veil as long as 63 football fields.
Yes.
How did the poor bride carry that on top of her head?
She must have been like an ant.
She must have been, or something really, really big, I'm thinking, because if you were supposed to have 63 football fields, you're going to have some serious neck muscles to be able to hold that up without falling down, right?
Yeah.
She must have had some help. I'm thinking like probably people that carried the veil. You know, there's always one person at a wedding that carries
There's
the veil.
probably like 100 or more people.
At least, I mean, because if you have 63 football fields, 100 would only be two. So like both at the 50-yard line, that'd be like super, super big. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that being. Okay, I got one for you. Did you know that you can hear a blue whale's heart pound from a distance of over 2 miles away?
That's a lot.
Now, the blue whale, I believe, is the biggest mammal in the world. Is that true?
I think so, yeah.
That would make sense then. It'd be able to travel. The noise would be able to travel through the ocean currents, and I think you can hear things better in water than outside of water, right?
Yes. I wonder what it would sound like outside of water.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be very impressive. It'd probably have a huge echo or something like
Yeah.
that. Some sort of distortion too. I bet you that's when people market those little sound machines before they go to bed, they have those soothing ocean noises in the rain. Can you imagine, the blue whale's heart all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. I don't know. I think I'd like that as my alarm.
Yeah.
All right, you got another one?
Yeah. Did you know that Saturn actually releases more energy than it gets from the sun?
Really? So Saturn itself is more powerful than the sun when it comes to releasing energy?
Maybe.
That makes sense. I wonder why that is, because Saturn isn't Saturn the biggest planet?
I thought Jupiter was.
You're right, Jupiter is the biggest planet. I'll have to go back and check that one out. This is why I'm not a science teacher. We'll have to go check that out. But Saturn, interesting. Saturn's the one with the rings.
Yeah, so maybe the rings help create it.
Oh, yeah, I never thought about that, because when things move, there's energy involved. So if you have a lot of things moving, there'd be more energy involved. Mm-hmm. Interesting. My mind is currently spinning like Saturn's rings right now. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't explode or give off too much energy. All right, I got another one for you. Ready? You know those hats that chefs wear? You know, the ones that have the big top? Well, in those hats, there's 100 little folds. And apparently those folds, those 100 folds are equal to the 100 ways that you can cook an egg.
Wow.
Do you like eggs?
I do.
Tell me about your favorite type of cooked egg. Like when you prepare eggs, or when your parents prepare eggs, what's the kind of egg that you like? Oh, this is the best egg ever.
Well, I think I prefer the one with the yolk. I never really know how to say all the yolk, the name, so I just call it the yolky one. And I like to put it on toast because I just think it's a good, balance.
So you like the yolky sunny side up with halfway cooked that you can dip in it, or do you like it on top of the toast and you just like all the yolk fall off your mouth when you eat it, or do you like it like fully cooked?
I like it like with the yolk that can break, and for some reason I eat around the yolk and then I save the yolk for last.
Yeah. That's actually my favorite way of doing an egg too. When I was younger, we never had eggs. We always had cereal. I was the youngest of 5, and it was hard to get so many eggs, cooked in the morning because my parents both worked. So we never had eggs, and so I always had cereal. But my favorite, every time my birthday came around, we always had breakfast for dinner, and it was always yolky eggs. It was my favorite because I needed to dip the toast inside of it. Oh, it's so good. My kids like hard-boiled, though. They're weird. Anyway, you got another one for me?
Yeah. After an argument, Tolkien got credit for inventing the word hobbit.
After an argument. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
talking about J.R.R. Tolkien, the famous
Yes.
writer of the Lord of the Rings series and The Hobbit, which is the book that you brought for us today.
Yeah.
So he invented the word hobbit after an argument?
Well, I guess they must have been deciding, because maybe they thought it was already made, because it might be similar to a dwarf or elf.
Oh, so he wanted to make his own type of character up, and perhaps whoever he was speaking with was trying to figure out what character was going to be. He came up with his own personal hobbit.
I guess so.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this book that you've been reading. You have The Hobbit here by J.R. Tolkien. What is the story about? What exactly is a hobbit?
Well, a hobbit's like a little creature, kind of like a dwarf or an elf, like I already said. And they actually have hairy feet. I found that on the internet. And, yeah.
Okay, and so this hobbit creature, is there one particular hobbit? Are there a whole bunch of hobbits? What is the story base for the characters themselves?
There is one hobbit, and he's the main character. But one day, another thing came along. It wasn't a hobbit, and he knocked down. He just came up, and things just got crazy after that.
Mm-hmm. You can reveal the type of character that this was. What is the character that caused the problem?
I don't exactly know. He was like a wizardy thing, but he wasn't a human. He wasn't a hobbit. He might have been a dwarf, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like this mysterious villain that we don't know what exactly occurred, but they came, and then everything went crazy inside. Is it Hobbiton? Where do they live? Was it the Shire? Is it a different place?
Well, the hobbit lives in a hobbit hole. Like on the side of a hill, there's like a door in the hill, and then he just lives underground.
Okay.
So he was on his porch, and then this mysterious wizard guy came up, and then he wanted to go on an adventure, but the hobbit did not want to go. The hobbit's name was Bilbo Baggins, and he just loved his home. He was just like kind of chill and nice, and he liked it there. He did not want to go on any adventures. He wasn't the adventuring type, so he didn't want to go. But the wizard needed him to go apparently. So
interesting. How far along are you in the book right now, Sonnet?
I'm about a third of the way to the end.
And has Bilbo Baggins started on his journey yet, or is he still kind of deciding what's going on?
He has definitely started on his adventure.
You seem pretty emphatic about that. Tell me what's been going on in his adventures thus far.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but a lot of things have happened, and they've got into many situations with a lot of different creatures that may or may not be bad.
Interesting. Okay, now is Bilbo going on this journey alone?
No, he actually has a whole bunch of other dwarves. One is named Thorin. He is basically the king of the dwarves, and he is very selfish or haughty.
Okay.
And there's 13 other dwarves, and also the wizard.
Oh, okay. The wizard does accompany them. Okay.
Yes, he helps them very much.
Okay. I can imagine that the hobbits would need a little bit of help from wizards. Now, hobbits are, generally speaking, very short people. Like you said, they're like dwarves, they're like elves, right? But they're just their own little creature.
Yeah.
They have hairy feet, which you mentioned as well. Does the fact that Bilbo is short, does that help or hinder him during his adventures?
Well, I guess it can both, because one time when they were with a creature that is kind of evil, it was easier for him. Well, maybe not, because, I can see him just as well, just as scrumptious. But the downside of being kind of short is if they need to get somewhere high to escape a thing or two or five or 100 bajillion. He can't really climb trees, and he needs help. He can't run very quickly because of his legs are too short, and he can't climb a tree. So he has to have a lot of help with some other dwarves to do that.
Yeah, it seems a lot like a David and Goliath issue here. There's so many different things that are occurring in his adventures, and so many mysterious creatures that are wanting to take care of him. That he's got to figure out a way to be able to, avoid these dangerous perils that he's in. But thankfully, he has friends, which is good. Now I know that you chose a couple of pages to read to us for our book tasting today. I'm going to have you look those up, and while you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Lord of the Rings trilogy that follows. So J.R.R. Tolkien, if you didn't know, he wrote The Hobbit first, which is the story that Sonnet here is sharing with us, but then he wrote the Lord of the Rings trilogy afterwards, which would have the adventures of Frodo Baggins and all the other people that we know and love from the movies. And J.R.R. Tolkien's his vision for writing is an amazing thing because he not only created his own world, which any fantasy author can do, right? You can create your own world. But he also created his own languages. And not just one language, but languages. Like, he understood that, he created his own language for the elves. He created some words for the dwarfs. Like, he not only created his world, he created his story, but he also created language, which is an amazing thing to do if you're an author. This whole series probably took him, well over 20 years to write, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece. If you get a chance to read not only The Hobbit, but also The Lord of the Rings afterwards, it is a beautiful master storyteller in J.R. Tolkien. All right, so I'm going to have you continue to read. Go ahead.
So I got to, set the setting up. So he's still at home, and you see the dwarves came to his house. They were having a party, and they were just getting set up to leave for the adventure. But Bilbo did not know that. And one morning, they kind of left him and they went on the adventure. But they let him sleep in. And here it is. Up jumped Bilbo and putting on his dressing gown went into the dining room. There he saw nobody, but all the signs of a large and hurried breakfast. There was a fearful mess in the room, and piles of unwashed crocks in the kitchen. Nearly every pot and pan he possessed seemed to have used. The washing up was so dismally real that Bilbo was forced to believe the party of the night before had not been part of his bad dreams, as he rather had hoped. Indeed, he was really relieved after all to think that they had gone without him and without bothering to wake him up. But with never a thank you, he thought, and yet in a way he could not help feeling just a little trifle disappointed. The feeling surprised him. "Don't be a fool, Bilbo Baggins," he said to himself, "thinking of dragons and all that outlandish nonsense at your age." So he put on an apron, lit fires, boiled water, and washed up. Then he had a nice little breakfast in the kitchen before turning out the dining room. By that time the sun was shining, and the front door was open, letting in a warm spring breeze. Bilbo began to whistle loudly and forget about the night before. In fact, he was just sitting down to a nice little second breakfast in the dining room by the open window when in walked the wizard. "My dear fellow," said he, whenever are you going to come? What about an early start? And here you are having breakfast, or whatever you call it, at 10:30. They left you the message because they could not wait." "What message?" said poor Mr. Bilbo, all in a fluster. "Great elephant!" said the wizard. "You are not at all yourself this morning. You have never dusted the mantelpiece." "What's got to do with it? I have had enough to do with washing up for 14. "If you had dusted the mantelpiece, you would have found this just under the clock," said the wizard, handing Bilbo a note, written, of course, on his own note paper. This is what he read. "Thorin and company, to burglar Bilbo greeting. For your hospitality, our sincerest thanks, and for your offer of professional assistance, our grateful acceptance. Terms: cash on delivery up to and not exceeding 1/14 of total profits, if any. All traveling expenses guaranteed in any event. Funeral expenses to be defrayed by us or our representatives if occasion arises and the matter is not otherwise arranged for." Thinking it unnecessary to disturb your esteemed repose, we have proceeded in advance to make requisite preparations and shall await your respected person at the Green Dragon Inn, Bywater, at 11 a.m. sharp, trusting that you will be punctual. We have our honor to remain yours deeply, Thorin and Co.
That's awesome. Why did you choose that particular portion?
Well, I thought it was pretty interesting, and I like that it was like the letter. So, and it was like how kind of he got into the adventure and all the trouble, you know? So, I just picked it.
Yeah, I think it's a key part of that book because that's when the wizard and Bilbo really kind of, they get to the point where, okay, now it's time to go. We're here. We've been deferring it. We've been waiting. You need to go right now. And it's funny. I like how it's interesting. I like how he used the letter itself. J.R. Tolkien uses humor in such a fun way. It's so hidden, but at the same time, it's so present. Like it's literally just like there's a letter underneath your clock. You didn't see it. Well, why didn't you dust? Like you dust every day. You would have seen the letter, and then you would have seen it, and you would know the way to go. Like it's so absurd for us to think about that. I'm like, if a wizard were to come and leave a note on my mantle underneath my clock, I wouldn't see it for probably months until I actually dusted it. But yet, here we are introducing a little bit about Hobbit life, that they're very, they want to be clean and they want to find the things. But at the same time, the letter itself is funny too, right? You're going to earn money if we find it, but only a 14th if we find it. Also, if you die, we'll take care of your death. And if you die, there's like a whole bunch of different things that could be taken out of the letter that are humorous. And J.R. Tolkien's a genius when it comes to that.
Yes.
So, 1 out of 5 stars, what would you give Hobbit thus far?
Well, probably 5, yeah.
Probably a 5? Excellent. Well, I hope it's the same way once you get finished with it. I'm sure it will be. But altogether, if you are interested in getting a copy of The Hobbit, feel free to get it on Amazon. Feel free to get it anywhere you buy books. It is a classic of a book. It's been around for years, tried and true by children and adults of all ages. It's been one of the best fantasy lands for people to explore in their intellects and in their imaginations. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Book Tasters. You can find this episode at our YouTube channel, but you can also find it on our podcast, which is located at thebooktasters.com, thebooktasters.com. There you'll end up on my site, timothyjburdick.com. Feel free to follow me on social media. I'll be posting these interviews every week for the rest of the school year. Thank you so much, Sonnet, for joining us.